Welcome back. This is The Great Expanse by John Bat 426 here on YouTube. It is always a pleasure to record these videos, to edit them, put my unique spin on them. For your viewing pleasure, for your listening pleasure. And if you like the videos that you've seen thus far, hit the like button. Share these videos with other people that you know that like comic book related stuff as much as you do. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications. Which one? All. Not personalized or the one underneath, but all. So the next time a new video is dropped, you'll know about it second. I'll know about it voice. My brother Chad. Now, I said what I had to say and got it out the way. You looked on the thumbnail. You know what this video is about. This is the Superman from James Gunn, the beginning of the DCU, the DC Cinematic Universe. Spoiler review. Now, I know it took a long time to bring out the non-spoiler review because I had things going on. You know what I mean? As you can see, I'm in a different location. So I had to move, then I had to get stuff, and I just had to settle in where I was. All right, so I apologize for the lateness of the video, but this is the spoiler review, so I'm not holding back. All right, now, the question is, where do I begin? First of all, this movie is very colorful. I really love the visual effects of this movie. There's a scene where Superman's surrounded by Lex Luthor's Are they Lex bots or are they actually people inside? I forgot. I think they're people inside because there's the one scene where he punches the guy and his teeth fly out and hit the screen. Silly stuff. But visually it's very pleasing. The colors pop. You know what I mean? And again, I always said that I didn't like the logo. I didn't like the new Superman suit when it's still, when it's static. But when it's in live action, I didn't even notice, to be honest. Okay. I'm going to get right down to the meat and potatoes of this. There is no story to this movie. None. There is a subplot by Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor has staged a war between Jaharnpur or something and Baravia. All right. Now, the leader of Baravia is this like wild Albert Einstein here lunatic whose dialogue I really had to listen to closely. Now, I watched this movie with about 15 people. I was in Los Angeles, California. So I'm like, okay, so the president of Baravia is in Lex's pocket. I said, and Jaharnpur, I don't remember if there was any representative of that country. I don't know if that's the country that Baravia was invading, but this is where the movie gets weird. It gets weird from the very beginning. I'm not even gonna lie. The opening is just nonsensical to me, all right? They give us a text prologue. It's not quite Star Wars, the crawl, the dialogue crawl. I mean text, not dialogue. But it says, 300 years ago, metahumans appeared, and it talks about gods and monsters. Now, if you'll recall James Gunn's partial slate announcement in January of 2023, he said the first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. So I said, okay, so it's a tie into Gods and Monsters. He said 30 years ago, an alien landed in the farmlands of Kansas. Obviously, that's Superman. He is found by Jonathan and Martha Kent. Talks about 3 years he's been known as the superhero called Superman. So we have a relatively new superhero. Now, why he was starting out at 27 is beyond me. I don't know why he started so late, but whatever. I'm not going to nitpick over that. It said 3 hours ago, I believe that's when the two countries invaded, or I'm not sure about that one, but I know it said 3 minutes ago, Superman took his first L to the Hammer of Baravia. Now, the Hammer of Baravia, in case you've seen the movie or in case you've seen the trailers, they're like the juggernaut looking person with the round helmet with the eye beams. And it said, this just makes so much no sense. It makes so much no sense, which isn't really a sentence, but. So we are introduced to the DC Cinematic Universe, to its greatest superhero on planet Earth. In the DC cosmos, Superman is number one. He's not only number one on Earth, he's number one in our Milky Way. He's number one all over the galaxy. They know who Superman is. He is the ultimate hero of DC, the universe, okay? It begins with him crash landing in the Antarctic with a fight that we did not even see. So not only do we not see this established Superman doing Superman things, we just see him bloodied and beaten to start the universe, to start the movie. Our hero just got mollywopped. Why did we not establish Superman in Metropolis, which is a fictional city, and just pull us into this realm instead of us just seeing him land in a barren environment like Antarctica. Traditionally, the Fortress of Solitude is in the North Pole, but they picked Antarctica, which is probably a better choice because there's no polar bears down there. I don't know. So we see him unconscious, land in a heap. People say they got it from Dragon Ball Z or something. He's bleeding out of his mouth. We've never seen Superman take beatings like this from any of his established villains. We've never seen him lose to Ultraman, the real Ultraman from the alternate Earth. We've never seen him lose like this to Metallo. We've never seen him beaten like this by Mongol. We've never even seen him beaten like this by Darkseid. So basically, Superman got beat so badly by the Hammer of Arabia in Metropolis that he flew to Antarctica. He flew all the way to Antarctica. Okay, if he's already established, why wouldn't he like slink off? First of all, he flew, so it would be easier to track. Why didn't he just come up with an escape route that would lead him to like Star Labs? Why wasn't Star Labs established so he wouldn't have to go all the way to the Fortress of Solitude? And maybe I'm nitpicking, maybe I'm like co-creating or fantasy booking the story, but I'm like, I don't like the fact that the ultimate hero takes a L immediately. Now people say, well, they also established that he wasn't OP, that he could be beaten. Why not give me doubt that he couldn't be beaten? Like, isn't that a better story? Like, okay, we're watching him for the first time. Let's see how he fares against the Hammer of Arabia. Why couldn't we see him stop the war itself? And then the Hammer of Arabia come out and just beat him. Why couldn't you just literally rip our hearts out of our chest by seeing Superman take a L that we could believe in? And the Hammer of Arabia was made up just for this movie. So Superman has all these internal injuries. I can't list them all, but he had broken spleen, broken bladder, all this other stuff. By a nobody. I'm talking about as far as name recognition goes. We know who the Hammer of Arabia is, the person inside the costume. So he takes this dramatic L, has all these internal injuries to a nobody. Like, in that case, why not establish who the Hammer of Arabia is before the fight? Have we ever tuned into a pay-per-view, be it a WrestleMania for all you WWE fans, the main event, you know what I mean? They have segments, they have montages, they have backstage segments, so you understand who both competitors are in the main event. Back in the 90s, when boxing was kind of at its peak, in my opinion, on pay-per-view, you got a tail of the tape of both competitors. We don't start the fight with somebody getting a 10 count. 1, 2. If you tuned into the pay-per-view and in the main event, Richard Steele, the famous boxing referee, 1, 2. You're like this. Wait. The first thing you're asked is, wait, what happened? How did this happen? That's the first thing you're going to say. So it's mind-numbing. It's mind-numbing that you don't see Superman actually lose to the Hammer of Arabia. So, be that as it may, that's how the DC Cinematic Universe starts. With this greatest hero losing to a nobody. Somebody with no kind of name recognition whatsoever. So then we're kind of, I don't want to say inundated, but we're introduced to the lore of Superman. We see that he whistles, Crypto comes, Crypto is unruly, he's a mangy, no, not really mangy, but he's not a traditional Labrador. Now, the original Crypto, I think, was kind of a mutt-looking thing. So he drags Superman, just like the trailers, there's an extended clip of like the first 2 minutes that we see in the movie. He's introduced back to the Fortress of Solitude. The Fortress of Solitude emerges out of the ice, which is a great visual, which is a great concept. So it's not just sitting there for like the penguins to like sneak into. And we're introduced to the robots. So we're introduced into a alien realm. These robots have personalities and they acknowledge that they don't have personalities, which is kind of ironic, which is an oxymoron, which I think is cool. But Superman gets healed. He flies all the way back to Metropolis. But along the way, now remember, Superman has superhuman senses. When he's flying off, he misses a woman in all black against an all white environment, marching her way towards the Fortress of Solitude. Now you might think, well, come on now. Antarctica is huge. Maybe he was too high up. He's Superman. He doesn't have our limitations. Like, there's no security outside of the Fortress of Solitude. You have all this alien technology inside, but you forgot to put a proximity alarm outside of the fortress. So somehow, Superman was flying slow enough, fleeing the fight, that the engineer, the woman, Angela Spica, played by Gabriella DeFaria or something, I forgot her name. So somehow she tracked him all the way there with a bunch of mumbo jumbo, like, well, we tracked his flights. We know that he always flies in this direction towards the South Pole. So as small as Antarctica is, I'm being sarcastic, she knew exactly where to be without flying. The engineer doesn't fly. How'd she get there? Again, these are nitpicks, all right? So Superman Returns. I'm sorry, I accidentally alluded to a much better Superman movie, Superman Returns. He's back in Metropolis. He's once again fighting the Hammer of Baravia. I do appreciate the way that Lex Luthor has pawns, you know what I mean? Like, we understand that he has a whole team, a whole tactical team, analyzing Superman's moves. So for 3 years, Lex Luthor has been studying Superman, which is right up Lex Luthor's alley. He's calling out plays, L2, A3, and he's like he's like giving like supervillain soliloquies, which is really cool, you know what I mean? The entire time. And Lex Luthor is cool. Again, I say I didn't like his performance in the trailers. I did not like Nicholas Holt's performance of Lex Luthor. But he has so much going on in this movie that it's cool, that it's very Lex Luthor, but it's also ridiculous. So the Hammer of Baravia, to cover his tracks, which is kind of smart, he goes to, I guess, the outskirts of Metropolis, and there are all these trailers out there, and there's like a whole like LexCorp encampment. So he walks into a particular trailer, and it's like, if you ever seen Young Justice, it's like a Zeta tube. It's like a circular portal that teleports people. So he walks into it. We're in this very dark place that you see in the trailers. Then he emerges in like LexCorp headquarters. The suit kind of does what they do in the movies now. It kind of comes apart. Like a transformer. And it's Ultraman in the suit. All right. We learned that Ultraman is not a multiverse variant of Superman. He's a clone of Superman. Okay? Just like Superman 3. Lex Luthor says something that made me suck my teeth and roll my eyes simultaneously. He said, it's easy to clone Superman. It's easy to clone Superman. If you know anything about DC Comics, if you know anything about DC animated features, it's darn near impossible to clone Superman. To have an exact clone of pure Kryptonian DNA. They tried to clone him in Young Justice. They had an unstable Superman copy called Match. Couldn't even talk. Match couldn't even talk. He was so unstable. He had all the powers, but he was just a lunatic. The only way they were able to clone Superman in Young Justice, they had to put human DNA in as well. So the young man that we know as Superboy of Young Justice was not fully Kryptonian, but he was, I don't want to say the love child of Lex Luthor and Superman. But it's never easy to clone a Kryptonian because of the cells. It's never easy. So I hated that line. So remember I alluded to the Hammer of Baravia going through the Zeta tube and being in that really dark place. Turns out it's a pocket universe, a pocket dimension. And somebody told me that this was alluded to in Peacemaker season 1. I did watch Peacemaker season 1, but I don't remember that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, so it was a pocket universe. And I'm glad that Lex Luthor was able to access this, okay? But this is where things get wacky. Lex Luthor stated that he recreated a simulation of the Big Bang in this pocket universe. I'm like, so you can just do anything you want. Lex Luthor can just make clones of Superman, create alternate realities, or just access alternate realities. And there's this whole gallows there. There's a whole gulag. I'm sorry. There's a whole gulag in this pocket universe of these transparent cells full of people. That's where we meet Metamorpho, who's played by Anthony Carradine. It's mind-boggling. It's really mind-boggling, all the stuff that Lex Luthor is doing. Because it's unrealistic for fiction. You know what I'm saying? It's unrealistic for fiction. Because you go, wait a minute. If it's easy to clone a Kryptonian, right? Why not just create a Kryptonian army at your beck and call and just do whatever you want with them? You have unlimited impunity in this pocket universe. Instead of just imprisoning people that Lex Luthor doesn't like. Ex-girlfriends are there. I'm like, the problem with this movie is that James Gunn's signature is all over it. It's goofy. There are only moments of seriousness, but it's overall it's foolish. It's just foolish. Like, I don't mind it being scientific and fantasy. I don't mind it being campy, but it's just foolish. All the stuff going on in this movie. The engineer, remember, she made her way to the Fortress of Solitude. She didn't have to whistle like Crypto did. No, I'll take that back. She walks up the Fortress of Solitude, emerges. She's with Lex and others, okay? The Fortress gets up for them for some reason. People that aren't regulars in the Fortress of Solitude, which doesn't make sense. So again, that talks about the brainlessness. This is alien technology. Why would you open the doors or reveal yourself for people that you're not familiar with? Doesn't make sense. So it emerges. I forgot how to even get inside. Crypto needed the bark to open the doors. They did something else. I don't remember it. Again, I probably should have done this the day of or the day after. So the engineer is fighting with all the robots. She's carving them up. Crypto comes out, beats her up a little bit. And then the engineer, her body is made of almost like a synthetic polymer, but it's like nanites. So she's no match for Crypto's strength because he's Kryptonian. So she creates almost like a shroud of nanotech to like kind of smother his entire head. You know what I mean? So it almost acts like a muzzle over his mouth and his eyes. And Crypto's, he's disoriented. So they basically abduct Crypto. So then Lex Luthor is analyzing the technology. The engineer, she goes to like this communications auxiliary, and when Superman was first brought into the Fortress of Solitude to be healed after losing to the Hammer of Bravia decidedly, he says, play the thing with my parents, his Kryptonian parents, Jor-El and Lara, I think. So it's like a halo of screens, and you see Bradley Cooper, who I was spoiled on. Bradley Cooper is Jor-El. And they're saying things about, it's part of the message that was in Superman's ship when he crash landed, but it's a partial message. So I think the message kind of deteriorated over time, whatever. So the engineer goes in, does her thing, and good special effects on the engineer, you know what I mean? So she splices the message back together. So Lex Luthor plays the message for the whole world to see. So it talks about, Jor-El talking about his son, you'll be a great gift to the people of Earth. Then it says, it goes dark. Jor-El's message, rule over the humans without mercy if you need to or if you want to. I'm like, are you kidding me? Superman was the foundation of a lot of superhero content that isn't Superman. Do you understand what I'm saying? Invincible of Image Comics borrowed a lot from Superman and other established properties. The Viltrumites are almost evil Kryptonians that go out and conquer the universe. So basically, James Gunn borrowed from Invincible and made the Kryptonians like the Viltrumites. So these Kryptonians aren't noble scientists or benevolent people. It's like they're anarchists. They're like, hey, rule over them without mercy if you need to. And I'm like, this is another eye-rolling, teeth-sucking moment. I'm like, are you kidding me? The Krypton Jor-El is a Viltrumite. Nothing good about the Kryptonians. Superman's lineage is just ridiculous. And so Lex Luthor, oh my God, I hope I can remember everything. Again, this is a part of Lex Luthor being able to do any and everything he desires. He releases a little Pokemon type creature into the wild and it goes into some water. As soon as I saw it, I said, okay, that thing is going to be like a sea monkey. As soon as it gets in water, it's going to become the big kaiju that Superman is fighting in the trailers. Yes, indeed. The little twerp turns into the big kaiju that's destroying stuff. People, the citizens of Metropolis are just standing around while this big, humongous monster is destroying the city. Buildings are falling, toppling like dominoes. Little girls are by themselves while this is happening, facing away from the creature, eating ice cream. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if you're in heaven. I don't care if you're in paradise. You are not going to turn your back and turn a blind eye to a creature that's stomping out the city that's hundreds of feet tall. Stupid. I'm sorry. I don't care how jaded the citizens of Metropolis are. This was dumb. This was absolutely dumb. So some people are running in terror. Other people are just like, James Gunn and his affinity for dogs. I think the kaiju was about to stomp on this one area. There's a dog there barking instead of running. Again, another eye-rolling, teeth-sucking moment. Superman stops the kaiju's foot. I believe it's the kaiju, I think. I don't think it's something was falling. I don't remember, but whatever. Superman's holding it up. He's trying to get the dog away. He has to use his super breath to repel the dog. I'm just like, stop this. Stop this. Now, what are some of the highlights of this movie? Again, I'm just going off the rip. I love the interview between Clark and Lois in the beginning. I was surprised that she knew who he was immediately. But again, they said he was around for 3 years, but it still felt early in the game that she knew that Clark Kent was Superman. You know what I'm saying? So what you see in the trailers is basically what you get in the movies. He's talking about how him stopping the war was the right thing to do. People are going to die. You know what I mean? So as far as the war, remember, Lex Luthor is still trying to have these two armies fight each other, which is a very Lex Luthor thing to do. So I'm going to jump all over the place. It's not going to be linear. So concerning Jaharanpur and Baravia, you know that great scene of the little kid being the only one standing his ground while all the adults and everybody else is running away. He plants the flag with Superman's logo on it. It says, Superman, Superman. So other kids, they look like orphans. But I don't want to assume they're orphans, but they're all holding the flag up. Superman, Superman. Who comes to stop the war? Not Superman. Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion. Hawkgirl, the Kendra Saunders one, not the Shire Hall one. And Metamorpho. So they use all this trailer trickery of the little, I mean, that's great symbology. A little kid, I don't want to say orphan again, but children standing their ground, asking for their hero to come save them. Again, I felt like this was a ploy. That just made me mad. Okay, now, what was Superman doing while they were doing this? He was doing something more important, okay? He was getting to the root of the problem. The real problem was the universal, remember I said there was a pocket dimension? Due to some scientific mumbo jumbo, the dimensional rift started to split into reality. So that's where you see in the trailer, like, I think it's like offshore, you see like this big sinkhole open and it was getting wider. It was even a danger to Lex. Like Lex didn't foresee this happening either. When the message goes out that Superman's parents want him to come here and rule, Superman turns himself in to the authorities. He turns himself in, even though he didn't do anything wrong, okay? So social media, they're saying online, Superman is horrible, boo, Superman. He turns himself in. Rick Flag is there, okay, from Creature Commandos, played by, what's his name, Frank Grillo, okay, where he reprises his role. Ultraman is there, and all these other people take Superman into custody. And instead of going into a traditional prison, he's sent into one of the Zeta tubes, and he's now a prisoner of Lex Luthor, personally in the pocket dimension. He's in one of those cells. He's in a cell with who? Metamorpho, who is able to transform his body into any element, including synthetic kryptonite. So that's how they're keeping Superman subdued. Like he had his arm as like this kryptonite thing or whatever. So that's how they're keeping Superman in prison. Lex Luthor, for some reason, wants information from Superman. My thing is this. His plan was to legally kill Superman. Lex Luthor wanted to take over, I think, half of Jaharanpur and, be like partners or whatever. And Lex Corp or whatever, Luthor Corp, I'm sorry, would basically supplying weapons almost for free to these fighting nations. So again, Lex Luthor's pulling strings on both sides. He wanted to legally kill Superman. My thing was this. Why didn't he just kill Superman in the pocket dimension with like a kryptonite bullet to the brain, kill him, or just leave him stranded in the pocket dimension, close off the pocket dimension, and just leave Superman stranded? and then have one of his clones commit crimes wearing Superman outfits. Like, wouldn't that make more sense? It's like Superman is obviously not going to be a willing pawn of your scheme, so why not just grab one of your willing pawns, one of the clones, and just have them do all the dirty work? It's not like they can object anyway. In the pocket dimension, for some reason, there's something called an anti-proton river. I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm not a scientist. I don't know what that means. So there's a rainbow river running through this pocket dimension. And I believe it leads to like a black hole or something. Again, there's just so much stuff going on in this movie. So, like I said, Metamorpho was in the cell with Superman. Lex Luthor wants information from Superman. He's like, who are you working for? Who are you working with? Lex Luthor kidnaps a random store owner from Metropolis, the guy in the trailer that helped Superman out of the crater when he got knocked into the ground. A random person who gave Superman free falafel one day. His existence was so egregious to Lex that Lex took him out of our reality and imprisoned him in the pocket dimension, which makes no sense whatsoever. It made no sense. The pocket dimension should not even been in this movie. Again, this is more stuff just thrown into the movie just to have something to do. Really, there's no point of the pocket dimension even being there. So Lex Luthor grabs the Asian gentleman. I mean, when I say Asian, he looked more Indian than like Far Eastern Asian. So Lex Luthor plays Russian roulette, blows the guy's head off. Because Lex Luthor was like, okay, if you're not going to talk, I'll find somebody that means something to you to get you to talk. And then he gives a great line. He said, I'll find that reporter that you're always talking to, who's Clark Kent. I thought that was kind of clever that he didn't know that Superman was Clark Kent. So after the death of this store owner that none of us in the viewing audience cared about really, we see Superman like fall to the floor of his cell. We see Metamorpho cry as well, even though he's helping aid and abet Superman with this alien baby. I'm like, what? I'm like, wait a minute. Metamorpho is originally human. He's called Element Man in this one, which I don't have a problem with. His baby looks like Grogu. I'm like, why is he an alien? Like, and speaking of aliens, Lex Luthor has white Martians as his pawns. I'm like, why are we just grabbing anything from the realms of the DC universe and just putting them all in this first movie? All this stuff going on for no reason. White Martians should not have been in this movie. Pocket dimensions should not have been in this movie. Anti-proton rivers should not have been in this movie. Clones of Superman should not have been in this movie. Hawk Girl should not have been in this movie. All she did was screech every time she fought. She meant nothing in this movie. Green Lantern was sort of a foil for Superman. He was kind of Guy Gardner. Like, nobody in DC likes Guy Gardner. Even the Green Lanterns. Remember in Young Justice when the Flash was nominating Guy Gardner to be a part of the Justice League, and both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart at the same time were like, no, like that's funny. So nobody really likes Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner was okay in this movie, but ultimately he didn't really need to be in this movie. Like, they were talking about Superman's no-kill policy. Then we see a cameo from Peacemaker, and it was cool, seeing Peacemaker and all that stuff. But again, there's so much going on that there's no plot to this movie. Like, when the message was spliced together and played for the world, Superman obviously is devastated that the people that he thought were sweet that sent him to Earth, Jor-El and Laurel, turn out to be these, like, just zealots. You know what I mean? Like, these Viltrumites, take over the planet and rule without mercy if need be. So there's an internal conflict with Superman. It's like, do I continue to be the hero that I thought I was set out to be by those same parents? Or do I live up to their heritage and just take over the planet and rule without mercy? Turns out that all the social media that was against Superman was literally an army of trained monkeys by Lex Luthor. So he had trained monkeys creating all this bad publicity about Superman on social media. So much stuff going on. So Metamorpho is telling Superman, no. When they're in the pocket dimension where they're in prison, Superman says, help me get out of here, or something along those lines. He says he'll save Metamorpho's ugly alien son that nobody cared about. There's a baby that nobody cares about, so you know it's bad writing. So Metamorpho deactivates the kryptonite. Superman busts out and goes and saves the baby. He's attacked by the Luthor bots, or the Luthor cronies in the traditional purple and green suits. The baby's about to fall, I think, or Superman falls into the anti-proton river. Nothing happens. So the whole time he's like keeping the baby out of the anti-proton river, which we don't know would have led to whatever. So Superman, Metamorpho, Krypto, and Joey, this alien baby called Joey, they escape. This movie was aggravating to me. I still give it a good grade though, because it's still a good movie. But this is not how you start a DC cinematic universe. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. The tone is so James Gunn that it's irritating. So again, this rift is opening in our reality. Superman, of course, is doing everything he can to stop the rift from happening. There, he's met by Ultraman. He kind of pulls off the mask of Ultraman, and it's almost like the Winter Soldier when Captain America knocked Bucky's faceplate off, or was it Black Widow that did it? He like got up, slowly turned, and Steve Rogers was like, Bucky? And he's like, who's Bucky? He looked a lot like Bucky because he had long hair. So it really gave off Winter Soldier vibes again. But again, the Winter Soldier is not a clone of Captain America. But this one really reminded me of Bucky. So Superman realizes that he's been fighting a clone the entire time with long hair. I'm like, why have a clone of Superman and not have him look exactly like Superman? If you just think logically, why be a clone of Superman and just not look like Superman? So they're fighting or whatever. Superman, again, needs the help of Krypto because Lex Luthor is once again analyzing Superman's moves. He's calling out plays. So Krypto destroys all the drones. So now Lex Luthor doesn't have an eye on Superman. So then Superman just pieces up clone Superman, knocks him into a black hole. Okay. Oh, wait, I forgot. So the anti-proton river led into the black hole in the pocket dimension. Remember, Superman was in prison, Metamorpho was in prison, Krypto was in prison. So Superman rescues Krypto, Metamorpho, and Joey, the alien baby that is keeping out of the anti-proton river. Now, a black hole theoretically absorbs all light and all matter. So this anti-proton river is flowing into a black hole, along with Superman, Krypto, Metamorpho, and Joey. So the gravitational pull of the black hole has Superman, Krypto, and the crew stuck. So Superman's ability to fly and the propulsion he creates, the force of propulsion to fly, was not powerful enough to get him out of the gravity well of the black hole. So in the most unbelievable fashion, Superman uses his freeze breath to free him from the pull of the gravity well of the black hole. I was like, wait, so I'm like, so his breath is more powerful than him flying? The propulsion created by him flying? Again, so much stuff going on in this movie. Wackiness, hijinks, tomfoolery. So again, I told you, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho stopped the war between Baravia and Jahanpur. Superman goes right to Luthor Corp because that's the source of the dimensional rift. So he defeats the clone of Superman. Now it's down to Superman and Lex. So it's just kind of cool with the way Lex Luthor Corp was two towers connected by this kind of conjunction or whatever. Turns out it's a ship. So when things get unstable in Metropolis because of the rift, basically the ship descends and flies off. Superman flies into the ship. Now remember the team that was calling out A1, A2, and whatever. He confronts Luthor. Krypto pulls a Hulk and Loki. Remember, Hulk grabbed Loki. Boom, boom, boom. This wild, untrained Krypto that hasn't listened to Superman the entire movie gets his paws on Lex and doesn't tear him apart. I I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute. Krypto is a Kryptonian dog with super duper powers that doesn't listen to Superman. That's basically a rescue dog. I mean, that's where his untrained behavior is based on. James Gunn's real life rescue dog. I'm like, why didn't he just break every bone in Lex Luthor's body? Like, did the dog have morals of Superman but just didn't listen to Superman? It's like the selection in this movie is strange. It's like Krypto should have like dislocated every joint in Lex Luthor's body. He should have been throwing him from wall to wall. Lex Luthor should have been a puddle on the floor afterwards. Did I want to see that? Of course not. But based on the story that James Gunn gave us, this powerful dog is untrained. So why would he take it easy on Luthor if you're following the thread, the narrative from the beginning of the movie? Again, strange stuff. Then, to end the movie, Superman gives a superhero speech that sounds like somebody was in an intervention. He's like, I am human. He's like, I have my bad days. And I'm just sitting there like this. Superman, you're not human. I know you didn't know this. You are a full-blooded Kryptonian. Yet you have a humanity that was imparted to you from your human parents. But you are not human. You only display and you abide by the philosophy of humanity. So Superman, again, is the measuring stick for every hero in every medium, period. Marvel, DC, Invincible, you've heard me say this before. There is no way that a standard bearer like Superman should have given a Shakespearean speech. Prick us, do we not bleed? I hurt, I did. That lessens the hero, the icon, the symbol that Superman is. See, Spider-Man would do something like this. Cyclops would do something like this. Batman, probably not as much. But Superman, he's supposed to be revered to the point where he doesn't seem real, that he's just out of our reach, because we can never reach his heights, because that's how good he is. That's how pure Superman is. For him to give that speech, I felt was just pandering. I didn't like it at all. Again, David Corenswet is a great actor, but I don't like the material he was given. No way on earth Superman should have been given that speech. No way. So again, I already gave my grade in the non-spoiler review. I'm just saying this was an awful way to start the DC Cinematic Universe. And then the movie ends with, "'Cause I'm a punk rocker, yes I am." I'm like, I remember leaning over to the person, I'm like, why is this music playing to end a Superman movie? Like, why didn't it go off with something triumphant? Like, if you'd have played that punk rocker song after the traditional Superman theme or after something that's kind of operatic, maybe not exactly the John Williams theme, but something close to it, then if we would have stayed around, which we did for end credits, then we would have laughed. Then it would have been funny, like, because he said to Lois, he's into punk rock, he likes the Crab Joys and all this other stuff. And again, Lois and Clark and Superman, they had great chemistry. Excellent chemistry. No problems with any of the acting, but just so much stuff that's just thrown into this movie. It's like, you almost want to ask James Gunn, why can't you make a simple hero movie just about Superman? Why was Metamorpho in this movie? Shouldn't have been. Mr. Terrific was terrific. But he still shouldn't. I don't feel like he needed to be in this movie. Guy Gardner's Green Lantern didn't need to be in this movie. Screaming Jay Hawkins, I'm sorry, but Hawkgirl, Kendra Saunders should not have been in this movie. Ultraman should not have been in this movie. No, shouldn't have been. So again, I'm not going to continue the fantasy book as to who Superman should have been fighting. The Engineer was fine. I like the Engineer. But an established Superman villain other than Lex Luthor should have been the bad guy here, instead of just a random clone of Superman who was in a disguise as the Hammer of Bravia. I did not like that. No, I did not. I liked the movie. Let me get it straight. I liked the movie. I gave it a B. A B is a very good grade. But this is not the tone of the movie of which to launch the DC Cinematic Universe. This is not the correct tone, in my opinion. It comes across as campy, which isn't bad, but it comes across as a James Gunn flick. This felt more like Guardians of the Galaxy 4 than Superman. Again, this ain't just Superman. This is Superman. All right? It's in the name. Super and man. Superman. So he exceeds our expectations. He exceeds our measurements. In other words, we can't even categorize Superman. There's no way to even categorize him because he's Superman and we're only human. So again, as far as the tone goes, weak sauce. And I'm praying to God that James Gunn does not touch another major DC property. That's what I hope. As the studio head, be like Kevin Feige. Don't write these movies. Please don't. Don't oversee these scripts. Give edits to the scripts if necessary, if they aren't cohesive, but don't say throw all these characters in, because that's what James Gunn likes to do. Like with the Suicide Squad ensemble cast, Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and 3 ensemble cast, sort of goofy tone, punk rock, pop culture. Don't make every tone like that. Superman has that? Come on, man. Come on. And once again, this is my review. This is my opinion, my editorial. Okay, this is my recap with no cap of the movie Superman. Good movie, not the right tone, not the right pace to start the DC cinematic universe. And for the post-credit scenes, they don't add anything to the story. All right, and another point, something else that really irritated me. There's a cameo by the owner of crypto, who turns out to be Supergirl, played by Millie Alcock. She comes stumbling into the cave as if she just got drunk somewhere with this trench coat on, covering her Supergirl outfit. So she calls Superman like a biatch or something. And I'm like, that's Supergirl? That's Supergirl? That's Supergirl? It made my stock in the movie Supergirl drop. And other people assured me, well, that'll show you the growth of the character if she starts out as this like ditzy hot girl, summer girl, and grows into a heroine. Bottom line, I still hated Supergirl in this movie. She shouldn't have been in this movie. She turns out to be the owner of crypto. She clearly has never trained crypto. Crypto sees her and starts slamming her, and she's all laughing the whole time. I'm like, get her out of here. Get her out of this movie. Again, another example, probably 245 on my list of things that were unnecessary for this movie. Guess what? The kaiju was unnecessary too. That great stuff we see in the trailer, that was all a distraction. It wasn't some accidental thing where this alien wandered into our world because of a pocket universe opening. It was sent there on purpose. It grew up huge and destroyed the city on purpose. Dumb. A whole bunch of stuff shouldn't have been in this movie. Overblown, overloaded, bloated movie Superman is. So, this is my commentary. This is my review. You know what to do. Leave a comment, leave a dissertation if necessary. In other words, be as wordy as you need to be. David Brent, please let them know where those comments or dissertations go, sir. Thank you, Mr. Brent. From The Office UK. Warnham Hogg's finest. Do your part, I'll do my part, so the great expanse by John Bat 426 can and will expand. It's in the name. So they got all kind of pop characters. It, Pennywise, Fallout.